G'day, Starlo here with another Tuesday YAK chat. And this one's going to be a little bit different because I'm not actually going to fish out of the YAK. I'm going to use it to get me to a fishing spot. I'm actually going to go across the estuary, pull my kayak up on the bank, walk across the dunes to the beach and fish in the surf. Not the greatest of afternoons. There's a really stiff norwesterly blowing. It's actually coming around more to the west now, and it's blowing quite hard. You might even be able to hear it on the microphones, but it'll be an offshore wind, and I don't think it'll be too bad over there on the beach. Hoping I might be able to find a fish or two, and a good mate of mine, Mark, is going to come across and join me a little bit later on. Like all of these Tuesday YAK chats, this one's brought to you by CM Partners Accounting. And I guess they've been on my mind a little bit lately because, well, it's coming to the end of the financial year. And that means two things for me. We're going to pass the shortest day of the year and they'll actually start getting longer again. Yippee! And it's tax time, which is not so yippee. Not really a time of year I look forward to, and I particularly don't look forward to the idea of paying any more tax than I need to. And that's where a good accountancy firm can really help you. And CM Partners are great at that. They'll make sure you don't pay more tax than you need to. You might already have an accountancy firm, but you might find that they don't communicate very well with you, and that really all they do is your tax return. They don't give you any advice on how to do it better. CM Partners will. So if you've already got one you're thinking about changing, I can strongly recommend CM Partners. And if you've never had an accountancy firm, definitely check them out. If you use my link down below and tell them that Starlo sent you, they'll give you a free consultation that's valued at $450. They'll give it to you for free, no strings attached. So get onto them, use the link, tell them Starlo sent you. All right, let's go fishing. I've got a little bit of a pedal ahead of me to get across the estuary, and then a little bit of a walk. I'm going to talk to you today about reading the water. Something that's really essential for all kinds of fishing, and it seems to give a lot of people difficulties, especially on the beach. So let's get over here and have a look. And apologies in advance to those listening to this one as a podcast, because there will be a few visual elements involved. So you might want to check out the YouTube video version as well. You'll see that I've got my surf rods up there behind me in the rod holders, and I've got my other gear in the back here. When I get across, I'll drag the kayak up and walk over to the beach. But the first thing I'm going to do is get those sunnies on, because even though we're well into winter now, it's pretty bright. High tide was an hour or two ago. It's only really starting to flow out of the estuary system here now. I'm looking forward to fishing right down to the bottom of the tide on the beach, because that'll really help me to show you the formations on the beach. But we need to get there first. All right, well, I'm getting down close to where I want to go, and the tide is belting out already here in the estuary. Sometimes it lags a little bit behind, but it's, wow, it's really belting out today. So I'm going to have to pedal fairly hard. Ooh, I've also got some shallow water coming up. I'll just get over that. Just scraping the bottom. There we go. Now, I've got to cross this channel, and it is running. Woohoo! I'm going towards the entrance at a fair rate of knots. So I'll just have to work at it for a minute. Get my speed up. I don't know what speed that tidal outflow is running at, but it's got to be a good 3 knots or so. I'm pedalling as hard as I can now, and I'm only moving forward at about 1 or 2 knots. And I know I can do nearly 5 knots in this native watercraft in flat water, so there's a fair bit of tide there. I've only got about another 100 metres to go. Going to work up a sweat though. I've picked this area to come in because the bank is more gently sloping and I can drag my kayak up more easily and also get it back in the water at the end of my session. That wind is really puffing now. Thank goodness it's offshore. All right, I'll pull the propel drive up And I won't even need to paddle in because the wind is going to push me very nicely onto the shore. I'll drag my kayak up here, and I've actually got a locking strap that I'll secure it to one of these logs with, just so no one pinches it. I think that's pretty unlikely, but you never know. Best not to tempt these things. All right. My native watercraft isn't the lightest of yaks, but it's pretty easy to drag over this wet sand. I'm using a cut-resistant locking strap to secure the yak to this handy log. That should do it. I'm sure if someone was keen enough they could get it off there, but it gives me a little bit of peace of mind. Also stops it drifting away. If the tide comes in too much, it's not going to come in that much. It's not a particularly long walk across the spit to the beach beyond. And when I get there, I'll put my bucket down, push my PVC off-cut tubes into the soft sand to act as rod holders, and get my backpack off, before checking out the conditions and the surf break. Well, here we are on the beach, and as I hope, that wind is very much offshore. There is a little bit of north in it, so it's going to be coming across me slightly from left to right, but nearly directly behind me, which you gotta love. It's going to make casting an absolute breeze. And what am I looking for here? What am I looking for in the way of formation? Well, I can see a bit of a gutter or a hole out here. That's a slightly deeper area out there where the waves aren't breaking. You can see waves breaking on the back of it. There's a shallow sandbar out there where that wave's breaking right now, and then it deepens up again. If I go down here to the south, you can see that sandbar comes in closer and closer as it gets down. But I can see some quite dark water on this side of it, so there's a lovely hole there. It's a long cast to get out to it, but as the tide drops, it'll get easier to get to it. And then I've got a gutter actually running right along the beach here. Unfortunately, it's going to just about empty out on the low tide. But low tide's a great time to check out the beach and to get a good look at all the formations. And I'm going to get an even clearer look at this as the tide falls. It looks pretty fishy to me. Up this way, we've got the entrance to the estuary, and there'll be a channel going out there. But I can see there's a lot of shallow water out in front of it. See all that breaking water? Wherever there's water breaking, you're looking at a shallow area, a sandbar, sandbank. So this area right in front of me looks absolutely prime to me. And now I've got to decide whether I'm going to chuck a lure or a bait out there. I've actually brought a big lure to have a crack, hopefully for a mulloway. I'm always hopeful. Hey, listen. The other thing I'm going to do in this episode, I'm going to make a deliberate mistake at some stage, and I want you to spot what it is and tell me in the comments down below. It's something that I've talked about in a previous episode. When you see me do it, just tell me the time code, the minutes and the seconds when I make that fatal error, and put it down below in the comments. And the person who gets closest first, I might even be able to scrape together a bit of a prize for them, we'll see. All right, I'm going to grab that big lure and have a couple of casts first before I throw a bait out, let the pillies thaw a little bit more. I'm going to try this big jointed minnow. It should cast well, but I'm a bit worried that it might dive too deep. I guess we'll find out. Check the drag. I've got my heavier gear here. I've got a 5,000 size Stratic on this heavier Speedmaster rod, and I've got 20-pound braid and a 20-pound leader. For me, that's loaded for bear. I'll just have a nice relaxed cast to begin with, get a bit of a feel for the gear. Oh yeah, that gets out there all right. I'll be able to go further than that once I warm up a bit. then I'm just going to do a slow, steady retrieve. That's already shoveling the bottom out there. That lure might be a bit too deep a running for this spot. That's all right, I've got some other choices there. You can see a little bit of a rip going out here away from the beach. And they're always good. They act like a food chute. They take food out for any waiting fish. So I might just drop a cast in there. I'll go a little bit further this time, now that I've got a feel for the rod and the reel and the weight. Oh yeah, that got well out. I'd love to be able to get out into that dark water that's about 150 metres out, but a bit beyond my casting abilities. Yeah, I think it's too shallow for this lure. First couple of turns it's swimming all right, but then it's just bumping the bottom from there on. Try and have a bit of a look at it here and see what it looks like. It's got a lovely action. Better have one more cast. Actually, it's slightly deeper just there. That's my best cast so far. I got it up nice and high, let the wind carry it out. When you've got a tailwind, it can be a good idea to cast high like that. Yeah, I got a dozen turns in before it hit the bottom. But it just doesn't feel like this is going to work at the moment. Maybe later when the tide drops more and I can wade out a bit further. Alright, well I might put a shallower running lure on that and try it again a bit later on, but the first thing I'm going to do is belt a bait out there. Get a half pilly, 2/3 of a pilly on my 2 snelled hooks on the lighter rig and get it out there. Got this whole beach to myself. How good is that? I've got my lighter outfit set up with my favourite surf rig, a running sinker down to a swivel and a pair of 2/0 hooks snelled to my hook link. Oh, and I've got a little float bead on there to act as an attractor and lift the bait off the bottom. Alright, let's belt a bait out there. Just a nice, easy cast out into that slightly deeper water. Looks good. Now, let's see what happens. A couple of big sea eagles up here. Beautiful. They're looking at something in the water too. I wonder if there's a school of fish out there. They're just circling up here on the thermoclines, those 2 big sea eagles. They're definitely looking at something. There's a little tiny bit of longshore drift to the south, not a lot. But next cast I'll probably walk up here a little bit. I'm sure you can see that darker water out there. It's much more obvious through my polarised sunglasses, but even without them I can certainly see it. And polarised sunglasses are really useful when it comes to reading the water, whether you're on the beach or an estuary or a trout stream, wherever. It cuts that glare and lets you discern the differences in the colour of the water that say so much about the depth. This gutter that runs right up along the beach here is becoming more and more obvious as the tide falls. The sandbar on the outside of it will be exposed soon. That'd be a good spot to fish on the top of the high tide. There's probably not enough water in it at the moment for fish to feel safe in it. They might at night or under an overcast sky, but on a bright sunny day like this, there's not much water in that gutter. So I don't think there'd be much in the way of fish in it at the moment, maybe small stuff. But on the top of the high tide, with another metre and a half of water over that, suddenly you're looking at a prime spot there in that gutter. particularly early and late in the day. No bites yet. Sitting there quite nicely, that bait. It moved a little bit to the south to begin with, but now it's just settled into one spot. As I said, next cast I'll just walk up this way 20 or 30 metres and cast out. My mate Mark shouldn't be too far away. He's going to come across in his kayak as well. He just had a little bit of work to do first. Well, thought we might have got a bite by now. I'm definitely going to go up this way a little bit and wind that in. Rather surprisingly, my bait's gone, even though I didn't feel any bites. That's interesting. I'll put another bait on and try again. I'm using shop-bought pilchards, and to be honest, they're a bit on the soft side. I really should have thrown a handful of salt on them as they thawed, to toughen them up slightly. Next time. Okay, rebaited and back into it. Mark's here. I'll go over and give him the bad news that nothing's happening. Early days yet, though. Mark's picked a spot to my south, right where that shallow gutter empties into the deeper hole. I like his thinking. That's a good spot. Ooh, and I just got a tentative bite. About time. Wait for it. Yep, that's another bite. There, got him. Not very big. Strange bites. Or have I got him? Maybe not. Damn, I thought I had that. I need a new bait, and I reckon I might need a change of strategies and rigs. So I was getting some strange bites. They're quite sharp bites, but I just can't hook them. I've got a hunch it might be something like yellow eye mullet, something with a small mouth. So I've gone for a bit of an unusual rig. I've still got my pilchard on the snelled hooks there on the end, but I've added 2 hook dropper rig above it, and it's actually part of a Shimano Sabiki bait catching rig. Just 2 hooks off one of the Sabiki rigs, and I put a tiny little bit of squid on each hook. They're quite small hooks, and then I've got my standard sinker running down to the swivel above it. It'll be a little bit unwieldy to cast, but I don't think I need to get it out there all that far anyway. See how it goes. It turned out that my unorthodox rig cast quite well, and I did get a couple more of those unusual bites, but frustratingly I still couldn't pin them. And time was quickly slipping away as the sun sunk towards the horizon. It was beginning to look like we might blank, until Mark's fortune suddenly changed. He was on, and it looked like a nice fish too. I'm going to head down there and have a look. Oh, lovely. A big Aussie salmon, or carwai, as our Kiwi friends call them. Well done. Woo. Good stuff. They're pale, aren't they? Yeah. Really pale. Got that green. Yeah. Jesus, good fish. Yeah, they're pretty solid. I saw a fish jumping out there and I went, oh look, there's a free jumping one. I turned around and you were hooked up. It was your fish jumping. Well done. Hey, solid, in good nick. Okay, that's renewed my enthusiasm. Back up to my spot and get another bait out on my unorthodox rig. I don't have a lot of time to turn things around before we lose the light and need to head home. Hang on, that's a bite. Yes, got him. All right, what have we got after all that time? Now I don't know whether it's on the big hooks or the little sabiki hooks. So I've just got to take it fairly easily, because if it's on one of those tiny hooks, it's going to be very easy to drop it. I'll back the drag off a tad just to be on the safe side and give Mark a whistle to let him know that I'm on. It's a salmon, it just jumped. But what hook is it on? I'm using my favourite Shimano 10-foot dia Luna rod, 10-pound braid and a 16-pound leader, but the potential weak points in the chain are those tiny sabiki hooks. If this obviously heavy fish is pinned on one of those, I could be in trouble. It'd be so easy to pull them out or straighten them. I think it might be on the big hooks. But I'm not sure, so I'll keep the pressure light and wear this fish down, almost treating it like it was hooked on really light line. It's a good jumper. Yeah, it definitely looks like it's on the bigger hooks, so I can pull a little bit harder on it now. But that also makes it pull harder. They're so strong. Still jumping right here in the shallows. Got that light drag setting. I won't tighten it now though. Oh, he's not giving up. Oh, goodness me. You can't rush them. Come on. This is so much fun. I'm winning now. Wait for the right wave. It was a bit better salmon than I thought. But yes, he's on the big hooks. So I could have pulled a lot harder on him than I did. It's actually quite a nice salmon. I don't think I would have held him on one of those little sabiki hooks. There we go, right on the setting sun. Last chance. I was going to make that my last bait. And I ended up catching that really nice salmon. I'm going to keep that one eat it, probably smoke it. There's lots of nice ways to cook up salmon. I really quite enjoy them. I've made a couple of episodes about that. I'll bleed this one out, and then I think I'll pack up and head back across in the kayak. I hope I was able to help you understand a little bit about reading the beach, seeing those formations that hold fish like this. It was a pretty tough day today, but by fishing in that good spot, I was able to catch one nice salmon, and that'll do. And did you spot my deliberate mistake? And let me know about it down below. And apologies to people who are listening to this as a podcast. A little bit hard to hear a mistake. Anyway, until next time, this is Starlo wishing you tight lines. I've got to push back through that wind to the boat ramp now.